Welcome to Pods with Posh and Paul, a podcast designed to inspire and challenge listeners through story, experience and insight. To face adversity, learn from suffering and discover how to embrace life with a heart filled with love and gratitude. We are so thrilled to have you journey with us and can't wait to share your stories. Join Sue O'Callaghan and Joanne Webb as we disrupt the theory that everyone has perfect lives.
Hi and welcome to this episode of TeenPODS. We are joined by the lovely Aunty Bubbly for our monthly check-in. And today we are going to talk about healthy love, which is quite a juicy topic, isn't it, Aunty Bubbly?
Certainly is. That's what I said to you when you said healthy love, and I said, oh, it's a juicy topic.
And the reason why we suggested healthy love on this episode is because obviously Sue and I coach a lot of teenagers. We work with a lot of beautiful women, Beverly, and I am a bit worried about how people are and how they are desensitized to control and manipulation. Like, I think it is happening more and more often, and they are not seeing the warning signs quick enough. So I think, could you define what healthy love is for us?
Goodness me, it's a big topic here, dear. Healthy love would be having healthy boundaries yourself, first of all, right? And to know yourself well enough to know what it is that really is good for you, turns you on, makes you feel terrific, right? Makes you feel really special about yourself. And if somebody puts you down, that is not healthy love, right? So you need to know your boundaries and just be able to say, hey, don't talk to me like that, or whatever it is. Give them guidelines, okay? Mm-hmm. Know what you want for yourself. Know the way you want to dress and do your hair and makeup and that type of thing, right? That's important. So have a healthy respect for yourself. And there is a little embodiment practice I can give later, if you would like, that would help with that. Okay. But so that's one thing, is to have a healthy respect. And also just understand that when we go through dating, sometimes people get a bit pressured that they have to be in a relationship with somebody because all their friends are. That's great, and they want to be. But sometimes that can pressure them into maybe going out with somebody that they intuitively, the gut feeling.
Gut feelings, Beverly, if we just come back to your boundaries, we might have listeners on here saying, I like the idea of having healthy boundaries, but I don't know what's healthy and what's unhealthy. And I think what you're saying is your gut feeling will tell you what's healthy, what's not. So if somebody's asking you to do something, you don't feel safe, or you have that niggling feeling in the pit of your stomach, which makes you feel uncomfortable, that probably means there's not a healthy boundary in place. Whereas if you feel safe, you feel secure, you feel cherished, you feel honored, all those positive feelings, you will feel it for yourself. So for a listener that's saying, what do healthy boundaries look like? It is those feelings we get in response to the way somebody treats us. Is that right?
Absolutely right. And you need to feel safe, girls, first of all. Before anything else, you need to feel safe. Yeah. If you don't feel safe with somebody, then get the hell out of there.
Yeah.
Right? That's terribly important. And the second thing is, and this is a big topic, but to me, being healthy love means that you never have unprotected sex. Never. Absolutely never. It's an absolute no-no, because it could lead to an unwanted pregnancy or termination. And if he loves you, he will not put pressure on you to expose you to that. And if you love you, you will be able to put up the boundaries so that you won't allow that to happen. Yeah. So that's part of the healthy love.
And we can't always guarantee others will love us. But as you say, if we love ourselves, if you teenagers and people in young 20s love yourself, then that's the way you protect yourself, isn't it?
And the way that you can actually increase your love for yourself, because I like doing things with the body, right? That's what I teach, embodiment practices to women, right? So remember last time we talked about going outside and walking on the ground to feel grounded, right? Mm-hmm. So one of the things that they can do, or you can do, girls, is to stand in front of the mirror, the bathroom mirror or the bedroom mirror on your own. You don't want anybody watching or you'll feel silly. But stand in front of the mirror and with feet shoulder width apart, and just take a deep breath and let it out. And as you let it out, just relax. And then slightly, ever so slightly bend your knees. No, not real bend, but just don't lock them. and feel the weight of your legs and your feet going down into the ground. So in other words, you feel grounded. So you know that what you're doing is real. And the second thing you do is to close your eyes, put your hand on your heart, and just think about somebody you love. Now, it might be that boyfriend. It might be your baby sister. It might be your dog or your puppy. It might be your mum. Somebody that you love, that brings joy to your heart, that makes you feel really good, makes you feel special. And when you've done that, then start and think, how grateful am I that they're in my life? Really, really grateful. And the more you feel about, the more you think about them and feel about it, just allow that feeling of gratitude and love to well up inside you with your eyes closed, right? Just there. Now then, when you feel that feeling is really kind of big and strong, then before you open your eyes, I want you to imagine that that person is standing right in front of you. Now, how would you be looking at them if when you opened your eyes, they were there? Would you be looking at them with a smile, with a big, beautiful, loving look in your eyes? How would you be looking at them? And then when you've got that feeling of what it would be like if they were standing in front of you, then I invite you to then open your eyes and look straight ahead. And you will be seeing yourself in the mirror, looking back at you with those beautiful eyes, smiling and with the eyes of love. And it is very powerful. In fact, it was so powerful for me the first time I did it. I almost burst into tears, but I started a conversation with that woman. Wow, I know what you've been through. I know how much you try. You don't always get it right, but I really respect what you've done for me, as it were. Yeah. And just a small conversation like that, if you want to, you don't have to. But this is very powerful to help you to feel very special about who you are, because you are.
Yeah, that's so beautiful, Beverly. And we all need little tips in life, don't we, to bring us back into ourselves and back to reality. And obviously, Sue and I are huge advocates for self-love, as are you. Yes. And, you know, it doesn't matter what topic we talk about, but it always comes back to the love of ourselves, doesn't it? And when we lose that, yes, then we can't really put in place healthy boundaries, because we're not being kind to ourselves. Therefore, our boundaries are compromised.
That's right.
And, you know, whether we're talking even about healthy love within a loving partner, with a girlfriend, boyfriend, husband, wife, whatever, or even if it's in friendships, those boundaries are still really, really important. You can have loving relationships with lots of different kinds of people in your life, can't you? But those boundaries are vital. And a relationship is never needy. It's never abusive. It's never controlling. It's never manipulative. They are not forms of healthy love, are they? We want it all to be on the special side.
Absolutely right. And the person that you fall in love with, as it were, if that's what's happening for you or you want it to happen, because we all do. We all feel fabulous, right? I fell in love. I'm a widow, and I fell in love 2 years ago. It didn't work out, but, you know, it's a wonderful feeling. I felt like a 17-year-old walking along the beach with him hand in hand, right? In the moonlight. So we all love to feel in love. However, if the person is themselves are very needy and they want to possess you and don't want you to go anywhere or do anything with anybody else, that's not healthy. So, and the same for you. You have to not be so clingy that he doesn't want to know you after a while because he can't go out and enjoy his other friendships.
Yeah. I also think, Beverly, that a good way to view a relationship and to decide whether it's healthy or not is to ask the questions: what does he or she need me for? What are they getting out of me that fills a hole or a void in their own life? Yes. Do they want sex from me and they're quite happy with sex but not prepared to give me time to go for a walk in the woods or on the beach? What is it that they need from me? What is it I'm giving them? And are the things that I need in a relationship, which might be time, it might be touch, it might be words of affirmation, it might be things being bought for you. You know, everybody has a different love language. What do they need? What do I need? And are the two codependent in the sense that, am I looking for one thing from him and he feeds a need in me, but he's not permanently in a relationship that looks healthy for me? So not just look what you need, but what do they need that they're getting from you?
Absolutely right. I mean, that's very true. The love languages, Sue, because there's different components of love. One of them obviously is sexual attraction, and that's important. That's the chemistry, right? If we don't have that, we don't want to marry somebody, we don't want to be in a relationship with them, right? They're just a good friend, right? So, and then there's the bond and the closeness and the intimacy that we want to develop emotionally with somebody. You know, the old thing about intimacy, where you feel you can share anything with them. That's important. And then there's commitment. And that's if the first two work, then there's the commitment.
So what would you say to listeners then, Beverly, who feel they're in a relationship and the sex is amazing, but they go home to their girlfriends, or they go home to their parents, or they go home to their boyfriends and just think, but there's so much I'm not getting from this relationship, and I feel worthless in the relationship. I feel unhealthy in the relationship. I don't feel fully me, but yet the sex is amazing, and almost the sex is an addiction. What would you say to those people in that relationship?
I would say to them that it's not healthy. I mean, you know, truly, if you just want sexual feelings, you can go down to an adult store if you're old enough and be able to get tools that can help you to feel fantastic, right? However, if it's there, not just it may just be the sex, and if it's just the sex and it's the same for him, it depends on what he wants too, right? But if you don't feel, some people just want sex. I've got a girlfriend that's all she wants, and she's quite happy about it. But not for me. For me, I need more than that. I need that closeness and that bond. So if you just feel bad about what you're doing with that person, even though the sex might be good, it's not worth it if it's going to make you feel bad and icky in the rest of your life and that you're worthless. It's just you have to feel really good about you, and maybe what you're learning from that person or about yourself as well in terms of what your sexual needs are, you can take into a relationship, another one, that's going to be enhanced because that person also wants to make you feel special as well.
I think a healthy relationship is two people coming together and they both want the other person to be the best version of themselves, don't they? So you don't want to be putting things in place that hold that person back or stop them from blossoming into the best version. And you want to be able to celebrate each other's wins as well, not be jealous, not be, envious of each other. You want to actually be able to just purely celebrate each other, don't you?
Yes, you do. And that's so important that they know that they have your support and you know that you have their support, right? But that takes a maturity to do that. And it depends on your age and whether you're just starting out in the whole dating scene, depending on your age, etc., or whether you've had a few boyfriends, because we know that things change and we change. We change what we like in life. We change our attitudes. We change our ideas and our opinions. We go in different directions sometimes. And nobody wants to have a broken heart, but that can happen sometimes. And it's the worst thing in the world is to stay with somebody just because you don't want to be on your own, because you don't want to be lonely, as you think. And that's the worst thing. It's better to be on your own and feeling good about you than in a relationship with somebody that puts you down and makes you feel dreadful. Why would you do that, girls?
The same is true, Beverly, isn't it, for friendship sets outside of sexual relationships? If girls are choosing peer groups with girls and boys are choosing a peer group with boys, there's all sorts of different types of groups that form at school and outside school. The sporting groups, the geeky groups, there's the academic groups, there's the cool groups. And we want to associate, we want to belong, we want to find connection, but also there is a need for healthy boundaries within those relationships too, so that we feel safe again, so that we feel that we can be fully ourselves. And I think it's very good, if you're listening, to note, do you feel as though you truly are yourself within that friendship set, or do you need to put healthy boundaries in place with your friends so that you don't need to necessarily take the drugs if you don't want to? If you don't want to go and have sex, don't have sex. If you don't want to go to those parties, don't go to them. But how do we keep ourselves safe? And what can listeners do, again, when they want to be in the cool group with friends, but they don't necessarily want to do the things that their friends are doing? How does that work?
That's a tricky one, isn't it, right? What have they done before? Have they just succumbed? They need to look at their own situation and think, well, how do I normally deal with this, right? It might be, maybe they are able to say, no, thanks, not for me. That's it, right? No, thanks, not for me, right? It's out, and it takes courage. That's the word. The C word is courage. It takes courage sometimes to say no. but you need to know what it is your boundaries are. And sometimes you're put on the spot. Oh, what am I going to say one way or the other? I want to be cool. But on the other hand, if you're with a group of people that do things like this, are they really that cool? Or do you want to find another group that don't do that if that's really what you don't want to do?
I think at the end of the day, everything comes back to healthy boundaries, doesn't it? And so it's about exploring what your boundaries are. And a boundary, it might seem like a big word to some people, but it just means what do you really want? Ask yourself that question. What is it you want from a friendship? What is it you're willing to give to a friendship or a loving partner? What do you want? What are your needs being met? And you can't be, as we don't want to be needy, but we still all have certain needs, don't we? Like you say, we want to be loved, we want to be cherished, we want to be adored. That's all such a beautiful aspect of love as well, and they're not bad things to want or need. But we certainly don't want to be put down. We don't want to be told, you can't wear that skirt when you're going out with your friends. We don't want any name calling. We don't want, we don't want any manipulation. Oh, please don't go out because I thought we were going to have a really nice night tonight, just you and I. Do you really have to go out with your friends? We don't need them kind of behaviours, because them behaviours often escalate into worse behaviours. If you see some warning signs right at the beginning, they will often escalate to more serious things let down the line. And if you're not happy with something straight away, it's best to put the boundary in place immediately, isn't it?
Yes. Before you get too far down that rabbit hole, as it were, right?
And because we're all learning, obviously we've all got a few years behind us, but when we were
just a few, dear.
But when we were younger, we didn't know either, but we did know when something didn't feel right to us. So, and maybe the other person doesn't even realise that their behaviour is incorrect either. So if you can actually have an honest conversation and say, oh, actually, that's not how I feel, and actually, I really want to wear this skirt, and I think it's okay, I wear what I want when I go out with my friends. If you can have a discussion around it, then that can actually lead to healthy behaviours. Absolutely. But if the discussions can't happen, then the boundaries are just being crossed all the time.
That's exactly right. And that's one of the hardest, back to communication, right? It's one of the hardest things to do, is to tell somebody something about them that you think might upset them, right? And that's one of the hardest things to do, but that's a skill. And it's something about, I like the word presence. If you can stay present, if somebody's telling you something about you that you don't really like, but maybe you need to hear, right? Then if you can stay present and listen to that person for what they're actually saying, swallow hard, but listen. Don't just get defensive and yell back, right? Stay and listen. Be present. When they've finished, that will tell you a truth about them that maybe you really needed to hear, whether it's right or wrong, but that's what they were feeling or thinking. And then they may be more willing to listen to what you've got to say. So I love that word present, if you can. Stay present in discussion.
So to summarise for our listeners, what you're saying really is to just stop and be present and be aware of your feelings when you're in situations, not just sexual relationships, but relationships with boyfriends, girlfriends, with friendship peer group sets, with your own parents, with your siblings. Be aware of your feelings. Is this an unhealthy response, an unhealthy communication? And therefore think, what boundaries can I put in place that might not cause an argument, but that mean I am safe in the situation? And I love myself enough to only receive healthy love, and if it's abusive love or manipulative love, I'm actually going to reject it, or I'm going to walk away, or I'm going to be aware of it, because awareness is really critical and key. And I think the takeaway for listeners here is we've raised enough topics so that teenagers, young 20s, can be aware of conversations, aware of relationships, aware of their own feelings, and then they can respond accordingly, because everybody listening has got choice to empower themselves or to carry on feeling disempowered. But once we re-empower ourselves, then we learn to love ourselves more and accept or reject love that is healthy or unhealthy.
Absolutely. And the other thing to be aware of, Sue, is getting too much involved in your head and your thoughts. And you should. I should do this. I should do that. Why don't I do this? Beating yourself up over the head, right? Because if you're too much in your thoughts, it's hard to get into your feelings. And feelings are the language of the body, right? So we have to learn, what on earth am I feeling at the moment, right? Sometimes we can't put our finger on it. But if we feel that there's something very right, that's fantastic, right? But if we feel that there's something wrong, then we follow that gut feeling, but not in the head.
Yeah.
It has to be the body.
And I think when we feel it, sometimes we can actually convince ourselves we don't feel it. Like it was just interesting what you just said. When we feel something that feels really right, it feels amazing, doesn't it? You know, you automatically go on a little bit of a euphoric high when something feels really good.
That's right, yeah.
However, when something doesn't feel good, we often then go straight into our brain and start analysing and start making excuses for it. And I think that's where the danger lies. As soon as you start making excuses for people's behaviour patterns, things that they do or things how they make you feel, then that's a slippery slope. If something doesn't feel right, if it's not giving you that euphoric feeling, question it, get back into your feelings and realise that maybe it's just wrong.
Yes, absolutely. It's so important, right? Because we can become what we call enablers of other people's bad behavior just by tolerating some things, which we should never do, right? This is the one thing that I only found out about this, well, in the last 10 years anyway, to do with my feminine work. And that's that we always think the women are the givers. But in actual fact, in relationships, the men are the ones that really love to give to us. You know, they love to treat us well. They love to give to us. And if they're not doing that, they're not stepping up into their masculine initiative. But on the other hand, we need to know how to receive. So how can we learn to actually not just do everything for ourselves? Because women can do anything. We can do everything for ourselves. But how can we just step back a little bit and allow him to feel good that he's doing something for us? That's the other tricky one as well.
I like that a lot, Beverly. That really resonates because, as you say, we are very capable. We do a lot, but it's actually also really important to empower the man in our life, to give them the opportunity to do things for us. They feel the sense of purpose. They feel a sense of belonging. They feel a sense of being needed. I also just want to emphasize that we all do have failed relationships. Having a failed relationship doesn't mean we're a failure, because we find ourselves through other people and we learn as we go into different relationships what we're prepared to accept, what we're not prepared to accept. We learn more about ourselves. So if you're listening and thinking, gosh, I've got another failed relationship, or I've had 3 failed relationships, that's not a failure at all. That is just learning through the ebb and flow of life. Who am I? What do I like? What do I want to accept? And you can look back also and say, maybe I didn't put boundaries into place that I'm going to put into place now. So there's no such thing as failure. Joe and I always say we like our mistakes because that's where we learn and grow.
Absolutely right. Otherwise, every relationship would be a failure because, you know, we kind of fall down and we have arguments or whatever, and then we have to kiss and make up or whatever it is, right? So, yes, no, it's just this is all part of an experiment. You're experimenting when you're younger, right? And having dates and all of that, right? You have to know what it is. And most of us don't know what we want when we first start. You know, we're just excited about getting into the dating field and somebody shows an interest in us and we show an interest in them, and, you know, it's all so exciting. But no, you need to probably have a number of relationships when you're younger to really know what it is that you want, okay? And know your heart.
Yeah. Thank you, Beverly. Thank you, Aunty Bubbly, for all your beautiful wisdom and your beautiful words. And that grounding exercise is beautiful. Both Sue and I have done that in the past, and we've done that with you, and we've put our hands on our hearts, we've looked in the mirror, and we've thought about somebody we love. And when you do open your eyes, you do often have that glazed look, that real happy look, and it's really nice to look back at yourself in the mirror. It is such a beautiful exercise to do. So thank you for your beautiful tips and your wisdom.
Thank you, darlings. It's an absolute pleasure to be here.
We look forward to seeing you again soon, Aunty Bubbly. Thank you.
Thanks so much for being with us today. For us to inspire others to live their magnificently imperfect life, please subscribe and leave us a 5-star review on iTunes or on your podcast app. You can also follow us on Instagram and Facebook at Pods with Posh and Pool. We can't wait for you to join us on our next episode. Love, light and peace.